Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Women's Maximum Fitness Podcast. I'm super excited to have my guest today, Julia Rene. She is an NPC Wellness competitor, 1 week out from, I don't even know what show it is that you're doing, but.
Yes, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much. And this is going to be super exciting. I'm actually 1 week out from the USA show that's going to be in Arizona on the 30th. So this time next week, I'll be in Arizona competing, which is crazy to think.
It's so awesome. So the reason I had you on, well, it's been sort of a theme in the background, hearing all these different stories from different competitors, especially the females in the industry. And everybody has a really great story, and some of them are a little bit dark, and a lot of them are, people overcoming amazing things, trauma, eating disorders, poverty, everything, bullying, all this type of stuff. So I know that you have a similar story, which is absolutely unique to yourself. And I'm just really excited to have you on so that you can talk about it today. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, well, let's get started. I usually, I ask what your athletic background is just to kind of get a history, what you did as a child growing up, and then what got you into bodybuilding.
So I've kind of always been an athlete. I've always been involved in different sports. I mean, track, soccer, volleyball. But the one that really stuck and that I truly believe brought me to bodybuilding was wrestling. If you know anything about wrestling, it's actually very similar to bodybuilding in the way that you have to train and in the way that you have to diet down to compete. So as a high schooler and someone who is 5'2", I tried out for the volleyball team thinking like, yeah, I'll be great at that. But I was 5'2", and it wasn't realistic because it gets way more competitive. So after not making the volleyball team, I was actually kind of lost there for a second because being an athlete was all I really knew. I'm not very academically smart. I'm very creative and I'm very athletic. Those are my strengths, which kind of leads me to, the person I am now. So after not making it, I was pretty bummed, and my brother was actually on the wrestling team and he would practice on me. I always say I was my brother's younger brother because he didn't have one. And he would practice on me a lot, and I would hold my own, and my dad would yell at us from downstairs because we'd be making so much noise just fighting, and I wouldn't let him win because I just have that kind of mentality. And so he was like, Julia, you have to join wrestling. I was like, Dom, that's ridiculous. There's no girls on the team. I'm going to get completely made fun of. I don't want to do that. And after realizing I cannot not be an athlete, I ended up joining. So my brother and I were captains of our wrestling team for 2 years together until he graduated. And that's kind of where it all started.
That's so cool. So how old are you? How old are you now?
I'm 24 now.
Okay. All right. So you started wrestling, you were obviously training. This has a lot to do with, if people don't really understand competition prep, you probably started to learn about diet a lot more, and you need to cut weight for wrestling and stuff too, don't you?
Exactly. So the one thing about high school wrestling is that they don't really teach you how to diet. So there's weight classes kind of similar to bodybuilding, but I was at the time about 110 pounds and I was a freshman. So I was wrestling in the 110 weight class. And so I had to cut down to that. And then, putting on more muscle, I ended up going into the 119 weight class, but then I would cut down to the 110 so that I can be, more competitive and stronger against the smaller girls. So this is kind of where I was introduced to a really bad habit of eating, because I was, 15 and nobody taught me how to properly diet. So I was just doing what all the guys around me do. So this was extreme measures of dieting, which was like crazy things like getting in sauna suits and sitting in the sauna, putting layers of hoodies on and running in the summer, wrapping yourself in like plastic wrap, and then working out. So crazy ways. And we all know now that that's basically just losing water weight of dieting. So I would go days, without eating food, or I would go to the lunchroom and I'd be sitting there with all my friends and maybe sipping on water and then spitting it out immediately just so I could have something in my mouth. And I didn't realize at the time how damaging this actually was to me being an adult now. And obviously, once I weighed in, I made weight, I would go and I would eat so much food because I was so depleted and hungry that I would just eat everything that I saw in sight. So now looking back on it, that is where my binge eating problem definitely started.
Yeah, it's so crazy. I mean, it plants such a huge seed when we're teenage years, especially, where we should be learning how to be eating correctly. But when we get involved in these extreme sports, did you have coaches or anything that were concerned about you, or is this just, I mean, it's kind of the wrestling protocol. I mean,
Exactly.
I don't know a whole lot about wrestling, but I do know about the extreme,
Mhm.
water cutting and everything else. So
There wasn't a time that I think any of the coaches realized. So it was so normal
yeah.
that no one really said anything about it. And it was everyone just kind of cut weight in that time. And leading up to the competition, everyone's had the sunken in cheeks. We were all tired and we were still training like crazy, which is where the similarities with bodybuilding start to come in, the sunken in face, just being so tired because you are working out more than you are eating.
Yeah.
So I don't think anybody really thought anything of it.
Do you, just a sidebar, do you think that this is something that, is it how things are still done with wrestling in high school? And do you feel like it should be addressed in some way, or?
Definitely. I don't know if it's still like that. I have a feeling that it still is because I'm 24 and I'm really not that far removed from high school.
Sure. Yeah.
But I have had some girls reach out to me who have heard my story that are also wrestlers from, all over the United States. And they relate to me and say, like, nobody teaches this. So it's just a crazy thing to me that I feel like it should definitely be something that is taught before you are going into a sport like that, especially if you are planning on cutting weight to fit into a category.
Yeah. And it's almost like, these are things that we warn people about when we have clients that say they want to compete, and you're like, at a, doing a show first time, it doesn't get too crazy. It doesn't have to get too crazy, but when you get onto the pro level, the national level, the pro level, you are dealing with unhealthy extremes to get to be stage lean and stage ready. And it's pretty interesting to think that you would think that a 15-year-old or a 14-year-old would have the capacity to understand this isn't how things are supposed to be with your food relationships, because they're not going to be able to
Exactly.
separate that,
Yes, because as young as we are, we start picking up little cues like that. You start picking up whether your mom is picking at her body in the mirror, her relationship to food, how she feeds herself, how your family is fed. All of these things are picked up at such a young age. And my parents did a very good job at making sure that we were well fed and I always had a home cooked meal. But where I spent the majority of time was school. And so I really think that the first thing I learned about food and dieting was an unhealthy way to learn.
Sure. It's funny too, because I know I think about that. I mean, I struggled with bulimia when I was in high school as well. And I thought my mom never checked on what I ate during school.
Yeah.
Like, even it was like, you run out the door in the morning, sometimes had cereal, sometimes would grab a Pop-Tart.
Mm-hmm.
And then she never asked me what I had at lunch or anything. As a mom now, I always ask my daughter, what did you eat from your lunch?
Yes.
And it's hard to be like, well, I don't want to be too controlling, but I want to make sure that you are eating nutritious things the 8 or 10 hours that you're not under my watch. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I think that's one of the things too that I really learned from that and I can take from that is how I want to be different towards my children. I feel like my parents did a really good job at making sure that we were fed. My mom would always force me to have breakfast.
Yeah.
She would make me, she was a incredible stay-at-home mom, and she is one of the reasons I am who I am today. And I just didn't like breakfast. So she would make me a smoothie so that it would go down easier. But it makes me so much more hyper aware of when I have children, because that I struggled with this, that I don't want them to struggle with it. And I want them to understand it, that, food is fuel and there's nothing to fear, because at a certain age, you start looking at your body different. You start seeing how everyone else around you is. And that's when things really start to change for you.
Yeah, it's a struggle. I know, like, with my daughter, a lot of it with her is she'll say, like, if she's not hungry, she won't eat. And people need to understand too, just because you're not hungry doesn't mean that you shouldn't eat something. You still need to eat something, So she does the smoothies in the morning for breakfast too, because she doesn't like eating breakfast, an hour after she gets up or whatever. But I think that's really important for people to understand too. Like you said, food is fuel, and you can't always rely on our internal intuitive cues of being hungry or not hungry, especially as women with our hormone cycles. You can not eat and then you overeat because you're getting close to your period or whatever. So
exactly. Yes, it's kind of being a little bit more prepared for it, because if I would have skipped by breakfast later on, I go into school and then I'm starving, I can't focus, I have a headache and I'm hungry, and then I have nothing to eat. I've definitely still do that sometimes. Now it's just you forget.
You get so busy or whatever. So it sounds like it just taught you a lot, this whole experience, being aware, because I think a lot of times if you don't play a sport in high school, you don't really think about a food relationship or how important it is, because you don't need it for energy for a sport.
Exactly. It's so important. Like, when I wasn't cutting for a competition, my brother and I would come home, because some mornings we would have an hour of cross country. We weren't even cross country, but we would work out with the cross country, because your conditioning level to be able to withstand a whole match is hard. So we would work out with cross country. We would do our wrestling practice. We would do our lifting practice. And then sometimes I would go to an additional wrestling practice with a female coach, because I was the only girl. So she would work with me individually, because I didn't have another female to wrestle with. So it was a lot of working out for a 15-year-old. So we'd get home and we'd be so hungry, and my mom would have to cook extra for us because we were more active. And I mean, you're a kid and your metabolism is up there.
But these high school sports are very competitive, and when you're training for 3 hours, I mean, you as a bodybuilder even now don't train for we don't train for 3 hours in a day. It's like way more activity for a high school teenager. It's pretty crazy.
It is. It's a lot, and it's a lot of pressure. I know I put a lot of pressure on myself to be the best. I did very well in that sport, so I would put a lot of pressure on myself to continue to keep pushing, even when the passion started fading away.
Oh yeah. And I'm sure you were thinking, this is what I have to do. This is what it takes. There's not, I'm a huge fan of, I don't know if you follow the Jewetts at all. Follow John.
Yes,
Jewett.
I love them. They're amazing.
They are. And I think about how John talks a lot about how bodybuilding doesn't have to be suffering. And, obviously it does get grueling towards the end. It can, but, and I think about we had more, I'm not saying that there aren't good high school coaches, but if there were people that were a little bit more in tuned to teaching all aspects of the sport and the food relationship as well, there has to be better ways to do these things, that it's not so like what happened with you planting this seed of a disordered relationship with food due to a sport.
Exactly. And it's a difficult thing, and it's a huge responsibility for a coach or a teacher to have, but they do, when you take on the job, you are
Yeah.
in their lives for more time than their parents usually during the week. So you have a lot of impact on their lives, whether you believe it or not.
Yeah, for sure. So was this where you started weight training as well? How did that fit in?
Yeah, so when I first joined wrestling, I was a freshman at 15. That's where I really started weightlifting. So I really enjoyed it then, but I wasn't really sure what I was doing because the coaches were just telling us what to do. But that's kind of where the seed was planted. Um, we worked out and we did a lot of weightlifting. I was pretty strong there. I've been naturally just a little bit more muscular than the average female. And yeah, that's where it began. And then after high school, I just decided, wrestling isn't something that I want to do. I started getting offers from colleges to go wrestle. And that's when I was like, well, I don't think I want to do this kind of lifestyle, that long. And funnily enough, I do something very similar again. It's
Right?
just I I get attached to the struggle and the suffering,
Yeah.
and in a weird kind of psychotic way. But bodybuilders are all kind of crazy, I think.
Well, I think it's really awesome because it's the base for a really strong person. Anybody who invites, I mean, just weight training itself is a struggle. You know what I mean? So you're inviting this sort of stress on your body, and if you know how to squat a good amount of weight, when your car breaks down, it's not going to be that big a deal. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Putting yourself into difficult situations so that other situations don't seem as challenging when they arise.
Absolutely. Perfectly said. Perfectly said. So, I know I wanted to ask you. So, did you struggle with body image at all when along with this, kind of having this odd food relationship? Was that a thing for you at all, or you always been a pretty confident person?
I would say that throughout high school, I didn't really have a problem with my body. It was never something that I would pick at or poke at. It was more so the weight, because I had to focus on it. I did get comments, about being the only girl on the wrestling team and being too muscular, being too manly. And it's funny because I'm like, I was so tiny at the time, I'm like, now I get it if people say it, but then I'm like, shoot, really? So I didn't really struggle with it then, but I feel like it more so happened when I started to get into bodybuilding, because you see what your body can get to, and you see this almost unrealistic standard of leanness that can't be sustainable. And once you start to reverse out of that and you start to see your body go back to normal, healthy body fat, then it's a little bit of a mind fuck, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny too, because not recognizing, people who, especially like on social media, who don't, it's like sometimes they don't understand it's a sport and they're like, that's not attractive. And it's like, okay, well,
Yes.
I'm not trying to have sex with you. Like I'm trying
Yes.
to
I'm trying to appeal to judges, not to you.
right. I know it's the guys all the time. Well, you look much better with more body fat. Okay, well, that's, you're not giving me the first place. So it doesn't
Exactly.
matter.
It's so hard for people who are on the outside, who don't really understand it, to understand it, because it's a weird thing. Like I always say, I'm like, bodybuilding is such a strange thing. Like you are doing the one thing that humans fear most, and that is to be judged.
Right.
And half naked, might I add, on stage with lights and hair and makeup. It's a very scary thing to do. And I really applaud anybody that has the guts to go up on stage and do that, because people won't even stand in front of a class and read a paper or have a conversation with a stranger, let alone go on a stage.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it almost should be a criteria. Either you have had to compete or, I was listening to Fuad's podcast earlier today, and they were talking about how people comment. So many people comment about stuff about who looks better and all these things. They have opinions. And it's like, I wonder how many of the people have never actually been to a live bodybuilding competition,
Right.
like just to know. I mean, he was saying that and he was like, not to knock anybody, but it's like, you have no idea that pictures and video don't do anything justice compared to being right there live.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh my word. So how are you doing now? I know you talked a little bit on one of your posts most recently, which was why I had asked you to be on the show. But how has that been working for you? Because I know, it can go either way with getting further into bodybuilding. Either you have more of this mind fuck going on, or,
Mm-hmm.
it really helps you get control of things. So,
Yes.
yeah. So how are you doing?
So right now, I'm honestly feeling the best that I ever have, as far as feeling like I have some sort of control over I don't like to give too much attention to the eating disorder, because one thing that I realize is the more attention you give it, the more space it takes up in your mind, and the bigger the problem actually is, the more that you baby it. And that kind of brings me to why I still bodybuild. I came to a point after COVID, when COVID first hit and we had to go into lockdown. I was 3 weeks out from my first show ever.
Okay.
And my show was canceled, and I was so upset. I was like, why is this happening? And that's when I realized that I actually had a binge eating problem, and I didn't know it. And after spending a little bit over a year peeling apart everything, I realized where it came from, and it went all the way back to wrestling. So after getting so lean and seeing how my body can get for my first show, I couldn't stop eating. I went into a pattern of binge eating over and over and over, to the point where my body didn't even look remotely close to what it looked like. So not only was it really hard on me mentally, but I started realizing that I had a problem. And I didn't think, how could eating too much be a problem? I was like, this sounds so silly. It sounded ridiculous, because we highlight so many disorders where you're not eating.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to me, because overeating is just as unhealthy as undereating.
Yeah.
So after realizing, okay, this is an actual problem, I went to work on learning as much as I possibly could about how the brain worked, how I related to food, how other humans related to food. And still to this day, I've read at least 5 books on just food alone, and I'm constantly learning. And that has really been the catalyst to me actually healing and teaching other people things that I've learned.
Yeah. It's very difficult. And I feel like a lot of people, you have to go through all that hard stuff. You have to almost relive it all over again. And like you said, dig deep. Where did this come from? And, and get the tools to move forward in a healthy manner. So what are some of the things that you are doing to help that food relationship?
So I would say that the number one thing is that I'm constantly learning about it. So I'm constantly learning about how the brain works, and by doing that, it rationalizes it for me. It takes the emotion out of it, because the more emotion you have attached to whatever problem you have, the longer that it's going to have a hold on you. So that's the number one thing. I'm constantly learning, because it just rationalizes it. The second thing is I practice gratitude every single morning, whether it's for how my body is looking, or just the simplest thing, like I appreciate that my little dog likes to cuddle with me, like things like that. And people have such a hard time expressing gratitude for things, because if it's not something super big or super like, I'm so grateful that I got to go on a trip, they feel like it's not worthy of gratitude. But it could be something so small. And then the third thing I do, and these are things that I do every single day without a doubt. And if I don't, I notice a change in myself. And then I journal at least a page every single day. And what I love about journaling is that a journal doesn't judge you. You can literally just write anything down. And people will say to me, "What do you write about?" And I'm like, literally anything. Even if I'm writing down, I don't know what to say over and over and over again, it's good to just kind of word vomit it out. And that's how I get through so many of my crazy thoughts, because you have thoughts popping up about your body, about how other people think about you, how you showed up in the world. And by just getting it down on paper, I can organize and be like, okay, girl, this is crazy. This is not crazy. And it helps me show up better in the world how I actually want to. So I think that was about 3 things. But the most important thing too is just being present with my meals, especially during prep where my meals are limited and they're a lot shorter, and they're smaller. I really practice patience and presence with each meal. So I make sure I sit down with them, that I actually cook them and prepare them, that I actually taste them. Because one thing that people who struggle with binge eating a lot is that they black out. They don't remember what they ate. They don't remember what it tastes like, what it smelled like, what it felt like. And that's when you are totally blind to your hunger signals. And it takes at least 25 minutes for your stomach to realize if it's full or if it's satisfied. And if you're binge eating, then and without any presence, then you blow past satisfied into full. So those are the things that I practice every single day that have gotten me to heal at a much quicker rate.
Yeah. So do you feel like you have removed a lot of the emotion and like food labeling foods good and bad? Like for now, you're on prep, and I'm sure you have things that are off limits, but saying things like, I'm choosing not to have that right now because I have a different goal. I feel like the words mean a lot.
Exactly. And you couldn't have said it any better, because right now, my goals are different. And once I compete, my goals are going to shift. And, that's when I can start implementing these, I always say, quote unquote, bad foods. Yeah. I change the labels of so many things because words are so important. I don't even call cheat meals anymore, because the word cheat insinuates that you've done something wrong. Right. So I call them treat meals. Yes. There's so many things that, like, weird, quirky things that I switch around in my brain that just help me relate to food better in that kind of way.
Well, it's kind of like what you had said earlier. When you give something, the energy, it takes up space in your head. So if you are labeling your foods as good and bad, you've got the devil foods and the angel foods, and you are going to be pulled in a direction rather than putting yourself in control.
Exactly.
The other thing I was going to say to you too is that with the emotion, I think a lot of times people are feeling an emotion, and then they are looking for a food that is going to either correlate or, like, you feel anxious, so I'm going to calm down with food or whatever. And you had said recognizing that food is fuel, and not that you don't have events or situations where things can be celebrated and food is incorporated, but really removing a lot of that emotion and just recognizing it, what it's for, I think is really important.
One of the things that I noticed the most is that I used to think that I would have to eliminate triggers completely in order to heal. So a trigger can be something as simple as, when I'm stressed, I want to eat. When I'm anxious, I want to eat. When I'm sad, I want to eat. But what that has done for me now is knowing that I cannot completely eliminate stress, anxiety, and loneliness forever, because that's unrealistic, and I'll be spending the rest of my life trying to do that. Right. But instead, noticing that if I am feeling stressed or anxious or lonely and I'm triggered to eat, then there's a deeper problem there.
Sure.
So instead of going straight to food, I'll either go to one of my practices, either my gratitude, my journals, I'll start reading, because there's something deeper there. There's something that I'm anxious about inside that is causing me to act in a way that's out of character.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a growth opportunity. It allows me to dig a little bit deeper into something that I'm feeling.
Yeah. Just being mindful. That's what I was thinking. You just always being mindful and being present. So do you experience, so I know part of the problem too with this emotional eating is you would get this, wash of shame afterwards and guilt. And then it would start, here you are, now you have a new emotion that you are going to feed with food, and it starts the cycle all over again. So, what did you do about, not having a shame or a guilt response? Because I know it's not like you've had to have like messed up since,
Oh, yes.
healing process.
Oh, yes. And that's one of the biggest things that I think happens to people who struggle with binge eating is the aftermath and not knowing how to deal with the shame and the guilt, because not only do you feel like you have let yourself down, but you feel like a failure and you feel ashamed of that, especially if you do have goals, because your goals and your actions need to be aligned. And by binge eating, they're not really aligned. So before I had all of these practices that I do now, basically I call them, my tools, and I bring them out because sometimes one of the tools won't work and you have to try another one. So having a handful of them is always good. I would go into like a hole, I would be spiraling with negative thoughts, thinking like, there's a point I thought that I should just quit bodybuilding, because if I struggle with binge eating so bad, how can I possibly be a bodybuilder? And I think that was the thought that scared me the most, was giving so much emotion and energy to this problem that I have, that I was actually going to take something away from me. I was like, hell no, that's not happening. So what I did the most was knowing that I was going to mess up, and this healing process wasn't going to be linear. It was going to look more like a roller coaster, if anything, and learning how can I deal with that if it does happen. And the things that I practice the most is, for one, if I did end up quote unquote messing up or falling off plan, I wouldn't weigh myself the next day. I wouldn't do something that I call the cancel out method. And that's where you try to counteract what you did, either by fasting the next day. Sometimes, people will go extremes for who struggle with bulimia, or working out excessively. I wouldn't do that, because then that insinuates that I did something very bad and I'm a bad person. And that was my punishment for being freaking human. So not weighing myself, not trying to cancel it out, and practicing just patience with myself and self-love, and telling myself, you're human. This is not that big of a deal, and you're going to mess up. But what's important is you have to get back up again, no matter what.
Yeah. I think giving yourself grace is huge.
That's the perfect word for it. That was the word I couldn't think of. Thank you.
I feel like we're right on the same page.
Yes.
We're going to start finishing each other's sentences.
I agree.
And I love that part that you said too. I was thinking exercise isn't punishment. So to treat it like as a remedy for a binge makes I'm being punished for, overeating. So I feel like that switching that mindset of just, it's funny to think like when you mess up, and just to relax and just be like, everybody does this, it happens, and then you have to figure out why, so it doesn't happen again, or it happens less, you know what I mean? But the freak out reaction is what, that's the stress, you know what I mean?
That panicked, like, what do I do to remedy this, is what happened. And I can't tell you how many times that I didn't do all of these things that I'm telling you right now. It took me so long for them to actually stick. I can't even remember the last time that I had a, binge eating episode, because I have spent so much time when I have been well resourced and practicing, just setting myself up for when I do feel under resourced, that I can use all of the tools in my tool bag. But it's not going to happen overnight, and it's not going to work every single time. But as long as you keep showing up to practice, that's all that you can do.
That's so great. Oh, you have like totally provided so much awesome information that it's relevant. It's
awesome.
It's so relevant.
It's just like other than bodybuilding, talking about this problem is something that I am so passionate about. I could talk about it all day. I just know, I know what it feels like to be in the thick of it. I know what it feels like to be on the other end of it. And I just know that anybody can get through it as long as they are willing to show up every single day to practice.
Yeah. It's so tough, because I feel like most of the female clients that I get to have some sort of an emotional eating tie, and it's undoing that. It's fixing that mentality before a lot of times even being able to move forward with some sort of fitness or weight loss goal. And yet that happens in the process because you're changing behaviors. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Exactly.
So cool. So let's talk about, I want to talk about your competition history just a little bit. You were getting ready to do your first show right before the world shut down.
Yeah, right before the world ended. Yes.
Yeah. And so go ahead, tell us a little bit about that.
So that was going to be my first show, and I was going to do my first ever wellness debut. When wellness came out, it was just, this is what I want to do. So I've been training for that ever since. Yeah. And after that shut down, I went into the little, self-sabotaging whole BS thing, worked through that. And then finally, after just being in the thick of it, finally mustered up the courage to say, you know what, I'm ready. I think I'm ready to compete again. And during that time, my dad was going through a lot, and our family was going through a lot through COVID. My dad has a business, and he just was struggling a lot, and they needed me for a lot of different things. So I had to push my show back even further. And then I finally did my first show, the Adela, I think it was October 2020, and I won the wellness overall there. So that was my first show. And then my second one was a national show, NPC Universe, which was July 2nd. I keep forgetting what month we're in, but it was July 2nd. And I got first call outs, so I got fifth in that one.
Okay.
That was my second show.
Isn't that, I think that's going on right now. Isn't the Universe going on this weekend also?
Universe?
Is the Universe going on right now? I feel like I saw some of that.
There's something going on. I don't remember what it's called, but I know that there's something.
I know. Yeah, I was thinking that, because it is usually in July. We're in July, right? I know. It's like, I don't even know. Life is surreal most of the time. I don't know what day it is.
Yeah, in a way that's so good, just living in the moment and not counting down days, just being present. That's something that I have to practice daily. Just being present.
So do you have you must have a very good relationship with your coach then, to be able to.
Yes.
Yeah.
So very good, because my coach is also my boyfriend. Oh. We're very close. Okay. Yeah. So before, I even got into bodybuilding, I met him through a Austin fitness community group. And, I wasn't dating anybody at the time, and neither of us were really considering dating each other. It just so happened we ended up working out, and I was like, whoa. I was like, this guy is like everything that I have ever wanted in a guy. And that's a little scary. So I even told him, I was like, I hate that I did this, but I told him, I was like, I lied and told him that I had a boyfriend, even though I didn't, because he was just so perfect that I was scared. I was like, he's too perfect, it's just, there's no way that a guy can possibly check off all my boxes. I had been settling for such a long time for 4 out of the 5 things I wanted in a man, or 3 out of the 5 things. And he just fit so perfectly. And we're going on 2 years now in August, and he's been my coach ever since. And it's just been working for us magically. And he's my number 1 fan, and I really couldn't do it without him.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So is it difficult with you guys? Are you like, you live together? So
yes,
like 20, so it's like 24/7. So you're like,
yes.
Are you being coach right now, or are you being my boyfriend right now?
Right. And it's funny because he'll actually put on coach hat and boyfriend hat. And, sometimes there's been in the past where I'll text him and be like, hey, I'm going to go get Whataburger, just to like, mess with him or something. And he'll be like, Julia, really? But we both work from home. We both live here. So we're together all the time. And it can be challenging too, especially when I was struggling a lot with the binge eating, which comes with a lot of shame and guilt. And it took me so long to tell him that I think that this was a problem, because I was just overwhelmed with shame and guilt. I was like, how could he possibly understand? But telling him was the best thing that I could have ever done, because I finally had support from someone that wasn't going to judge me, that was going to be there for me, that would help me when I felt under-resourced. I can't tell you how many times that I would just cry myself to sleep and he'd be right there, because I felt so hopeless and like I was going to have to give up bodybuilding. But having him there made all the difference. And I think that's one thing that people need to do a little bit more, is find somebody that they can tell this to. Even though everybody has somebody that they can tell it to, even if it's going to be me, whoever you are out there listening to this, message me. I will listen to you. I will be there for you, because I know how it can feel, and it can feel very lonely, and you're not the only one out there.
Absolutely. Well, that's really great that you guys have that type of relationship. So do you think that, what do you anticipate in the future? I mean, you haven't been this lean, like you haven't done this after going through all of this
Yes.
so you're going to have your rebound. Like, how have you prepared yourself for this?
This is such a good question. This is actually something that I posted about the other day, and I was telling people that I do fear that I will fall back into the pattern after the show, because I work very well. I'm very systematic. I work very well off structure, routine. I'm like a grandma. I do the same thing every day in the same order, because that's what I enjoy, and it works for me. So I posted on Instagram, and I was like, I do fear that I will fall back into the pattern. But what I know is that I have spent this entire year filling up my tool bag with things to help me get through this point, because there's going to be times where I'm going to look in the mirror and I'm not going to see my body look like this, and it's going to be hard and it's going to be difficult. And one of the things that helps me most is sharing with everybody how I'm feeling, why I'm feeling it, and what I'm doing to get over it. So one of the things that my self-awareness coach, Liv, teaches me is that when you're feeling very well resourced, that is when you need to be doing the most work, because when you're under-resourced, you're going to need it. Yeah. So right now I'm feeling well resourced. My body's looking good. My mindset is great. I'm feeling very confident and proud. So I'm setting up all of these tools so that when I do get out of the show and, my hunger starts to increase, my body starts to change, that I know how to tackle it.
Yeah, absolutely. What was I going to say? I think that, I forgot what I was going to say. Sorry.
It'll come.
I think of like a couple of different things while you're talking. Sometimes I write stuff down just so I can remember. But, it was something about, Is your coach somebody that we know?
Zach Blakeney?
No, you're is it like a therapist? What did you call her?
Oh, she's my self-awareness coach. So she's actually one of my best friends, and she does self-awareness coaching through like it's this thing called Jinkies, which is basically like a personality. Um, I don't know what to call it. I can't think of the word right now. But she's been guiding me through all of this for almost over a year now. I think since I first realized that I actually had a problem with, a bad relationship with food, she's been helping me. I actually met with her today before our call, and she's just there for me. She's been the one to help me come up with these practices, these tools. She's just someone to help me rationalize and organize my thoughts. So I see her every single week. And I actually am seeing her again on Zoom the day before my show. And I see her basically before any big event so that I'm prepared.
I remember what I was going to say.
God.
Okay. So one, during the lockdown, do you think that it was just the events of like, was the gym taken away from you? Was it that type of stress? Maybe, I think everyone who was working, especially with clients, had like less work. Were these all triggers that, that caused this to sort of escalate, or kind of like catalysts for everything? What kind of happened?
I think the biggest thing for me was the gym getting taken away.
Yeah.
The gym and the routine, because kind of like I said before, I work really well off of routine, and working out from home just wasn't doing it for me. I actually stopped working out for a very long time during that period because I wasn't getting the physical and energy release from lifting weights that I had done before. And I tried to keep high energy and try to keep everybody as positive because everyone was struggling. It was hard, especially when the gym is so important to you. The gym isn't just the gym for me. The gym is my alone time. The gym is my me time. It is where I work things out, where I get my anger and my stress out, and I didn't have that. So being off a routine, it was like, why am I even doing this? So it just caused me to want to eat. Those were just, kind of or triggers, and there was a deeper problem there.
Yeah. So that's what was relatable to me, because I did absolutely go through the exact same thing. Yeah, like, I mean, during this part of my life, I haven't been training a lot regularly. Just had more to do with work, and I've been spending more time with my daughter. So this particular season of my life is, I was going to the gym only about 3 times a week. But yeah, when it shut down for me, I did end up going into more of an emotional eating for a few
Yeah.
well, because I was whoever would have thought that we just wouldn't be able to go to the gym down the street? Like, it was mind-boggling to me.
Yeah. It really, COVID, one thing that I struggle with a lot is I try to control so many things that I can't control. Yeah. And COVID taught me the biggest lesson of all. And 2020 was an incredible year for me. Even though it seems like it was just BS, it taught me so many things, and I can't thank 2020 enough for that. But it taught me that you cannot control as much as you think you can. Yeah. And we took for granted so many things. I remember when we were finally allowed to go to HEB or go to get groceries, I just went just because I wanted to get out of the house. We literally would put dresses on because all of our friends ended up staying in one townhome together because we didn't want to be separated that long, and we needed human connection. We would put dresses on and we'd go to HEB even though we didn't need anything. So just things like that we took for granted, getting to go to a park and getting to go to the gym. Like, it made me realize how much we take the simple things in life for granted, and I will never take the gym for granted ever again. I learned my lesson.
No, right? Oh, it's so crazy. I was gonna say that I feel like with your, doing your show and afterwards, I think it's really important to understand, because even since, like I said, I think I had a really difficult time with emotional eating during lockdown, and had to, basically I said to myself, if I don't fix this relationship with food, like, because you can't just rely on the fact that you're exercising to balance things out,
Yes.
and so it was taken away, and I thought, if I don't fix this relationship, I'm going to be struggling with this for the rest of my life, because there's been, you get injured, or you go on vacation, or we have a lockdown, and you can't always have all these elements, like you said, and be able to control all the elements. So 2020 for me as well was very much like highlighting the things that were wrong with my fitness journey, and like, I was like, I want this second half of my life to just be,
And I really, by you saying that, it really makes me realize that 2020 either made people or it broke people. It gave us the opportunity for our shadows to come out and for us to really dissect them. Like, maybe people didn't know that they couldn't be alone and they had to deal with being alone. And it just makes you realize life is short, and take your health under control while you have the resources, because there might be a day where you don't.
It forced so many of us to look inwardly rather than get so caught up in the busyness of life. And you just had this time to like, what do I want to do with my life? What's wrong right now? What do I want to fix?
Yeah, without all the busyness of our everyday lives, it really just starts to highlight these things that we're just too busy to actually realize. When we were staying in this little townhome together, I'm telling you, each of us took turns having a bad day. There was about 6 of us living in one house, and one would wake up in the morning. I broke down one day. My boyfriend Zach broke down. It was like we would take turns, because it was difficult. Just dealing with all of that. Blessing in disguise.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, there was a couple of times I remember just losing it. Like, I just started crying. It was like,
I don't even know why I'm crying. Just crying.
Give me some chips. It was like,
that Zach and I, that was we tried every flavor of Ben and Jerry's that you can imagine. I'm telling you, we all would just sit down with a pint each, and I can throw back some ice cream like there's nobody's business. But I tried about every single flavor. It was a dark time.
It was.
I think I have ice cream still in my veins from 2020.
It was funny because I had a client who, I had clients that turned a little bit more to alcohol. I'm not an alcohol person. So
I'm not either.
Yeah, but I was like, hey, I am not judging you. They would check in, and I had one of my clients, which she knows this, she would laugh. I'm not going to say who she was, obviously, but she was like, I didn't drink it all this week. And she's like, because we ran out. And it was like,
and I can't go to the store because #lockdown. That's so crazy. At least theirs is a little bit calorically friendly. I mean, a pint of Ben and Jerry's ice cream for me is like alcohol, and that's like, what, a day's worth of calories? Almost.
You don't want to read those labels. When you see like a half a cup of ice cream has 500 calories, you're like, this is insane. Yeah.
Right?
Nuts. I was going to say too, though, after, going through your show, and just to remind, because, like I said, I struggled through 2020, and kind of, I went back to therapy, realized, I have this relationship, worked on that, worked on some other relationships. And since then, I've had times where I'm like, you get caught up in more emotional food cycles, and it's how you respond to them, because usually it'll be a couple of days of, I didn't go to the gym, I overate, and you just kind of go, well, I'm not going to do this again. It's about, you kind of fall down, but then, like you said, you make sure that you don't spiral out of control. You just, I know how to fix this. I'm going to go to the gym. Let's figure out what's wrong. Like, calmly working through.
Yes. That was the biggest lesson is I learned the more emotionally I reacted to things, the bigger that I made them and the longer that they stuck around. It's just like the more that I kept saying, I am a binge eating survivor, I am a healer, I am this, I am that. I am just babying this problem that's not healthy. And that's why I was so attached to it so long, because I kept using it as an excuse. I am this way because of my binge eating. I eat this way because of my binge eating, and that wasn't serving me anymore. So the biggest advice that I can have for anybody is don't react so emotionally to things, because that's when you start spiraling.
Well, and the other thing is too, so people are gonna, like, for instance, like I feel this connection to you, right? Because we both have this similar past, but we also both have a similar goal for the future. And I think that's what people need to focus on, because you can get caught up in connecting with people like, oh, this person also went through a divorce, and this person also, whatever it was that they did that was traumatic or whatever. And then you get stuck in that. But what you want to do,
exactly,
people who have similar goals for the future, regardless of if their past tied you to them, so that you can better yourself, right?
Yeah. So it's not like you're not in a misery loves company situation. You're in more of a like, hey, we share this, but we're also looking for a place to grow to, grow out of, instead of let's just sulk in this, let's be a divorcee women's group and be better, let's connect on this, but like, how can we grow forward?
Yeah, because that's when you start to leave people behind, right? Because you're like, well, you're really caught up in still being anorexic all the time. You know what I mean? Or that's what you overcame. It's like, no, what do you want to be? What do you want to do with this? How do you want to take this struggle that sort of defined you to define you for your future self?
Exactly. Like, I don't want to identify as like, I struggle with binge eating or bulimia taped on my forehead. I want something bigger, and better, that could just be the backstory. But, I am a aspiring IFBB pro. I'm aspiring, Miss Wellness Olympia. That is what I want. That is my goal. I want to help other women heal their relationship with food, because that is bigger. And that is something that I'm more passionate about.
That's 100% it. You can take what you've learned, you can use your story to teach, not just to relate, so that it's useful. I read a quote the other day. It said, don't tell me how I inspired you or that I inspired you. Show me what you did with that inspiration. And I
love that.
That's what you're doing. So super cool.
I love that quote.
So cool. Well, Julia, what else? Is there anything else that you wanted to plug or share? If not, we will. What? Just a generic. What's a message that you want to make sure that women take away from this?
One message. The thing that I always go back to, and this has been my go-to saying for my coaching, for anybody, is that you are way more powerful than you think.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. Well, let's do, if you have time, we'll do our 10 questions and then.
Ooh, cool. Is it like a rapid fire?
Yes.
Okay. I'm excited. Cracks knuckles.
All right, here we go. All right. What is your music style?
Chill.
Chill?
Chill. It's more like indie, kind of like really laid back. I don't like anything too loud, because remember, I'm a grandma.
Right. I wanted to ask you, I'm sure people would like to know, what's your training split looking like right now? Well, not necessarily right now, but normally. Yeah.
So my wellness, and this is kind of just tailored also towards my body. So I have a gluten hammy day, shoulder and abs, quad focus day, glute and hammy day, and then a yoga day. That's my training split. So I have 3 leg days and 2 not leg days. I stopped training so much upper body because it's already developed enough for the category. And yoga really helps with posing. And it helps me kind of, I'm a little spazzy and very, erratic with things that like I do, and yoga forces me to chill.
Center.
Yes. Recenter my intentions, remember why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Do you go to a yoga class, or is it something you do like an online or YouTube or something?
I do a class because I have to go and do the action. Like I have a Stairmaster at my apartment, but I have to go to the thing. I don't know. It's just a weird thing I have.
I get it. It's kind of like, I mean, I didn't have as much gym equipment as at home as I do now. I'm prepared if the world shuts down, but
yes,
I don't like training at home. I've never liked
yes.
home.
I like to be in the atmosphere of other people training and doing it. I don't need to talk to them or anything, but as long as they're there.
Absolutely. That's exactly how I just like the atmosphere. So would you prefer a super busy gym or a totally dead gym?
Busy.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough. But as long as I still have, some machines.
Right.
Busy, but like make room for me.
If you need that machine, that person has one more set.
Yeah. I'll just stare at them.
No,
No, I'm very sensitive to people at the gym that are nervous and they're newbies because I remember how I felt when I was.
Absolutely. But I would also like them to move it along.
Yeah, I train at such an intensity and very fast pace, and like I know what I'm doing, I know where I'm going. And when people aren't training like that, I get a little frustrated, but everyone's different.
Yeah, it is tough because you'll know how many sets you have left if somebody asks you about a machine, but sometimes other people don't always know how many
they're like, I'm just here. I don't know. I'm making it up as I go along. And me, I'm like, this is what we're doing. This is where we're going next.
Yeah. And I'll anticipate it too, because I'll look over, I'll be like, I need that. That person better be done.
Oh yeah. And then I'm like pouncing on them. I'm like, I'm there first.
It's really funny. What is your favorite and least favorite thing about social media?
My favorite thing about social media is that you can connect with people that you never thought that you could.
Yeah.
My least favorite thing about social media is that everybody has an opinion about any single thing you do, no matter how small. People see me use a cup and they want me to use the cup that they have because they think it's better. It's ridiculous. Still love it though.
Do you have, for people who don't know, you have a huge following. How many followers do you have?
I think about 121K.
Okay, very nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's growing. People love the wellness competitors. That's why.
Yes, they do. I love them too. I like following. That's like basically all I follow.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you get weird stuff about wrestling? I feel like, because I've gotten weird stuff about wrestling. So I think with your wrestling background, you get schmoey DMs.
Yeah, I get some guys that ask to wrestle me and stuff like that. But
you're like, you can wrestle my brother.
Yeah. I'm like, I would destroy you, but I feel like you might like that. So I'm just going to delete this. So many weird things.
Block a lot of people?
I don't, only if someone repetitively is bothering me.
Yeah.
My little sister is my assistant and she filters out every single guy because I answer every girl that messages me.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I do is I'm answer back everybody. Yeah. Men, I'm sorry. Even if your intentions are right, I don't know. I just delete.
I totally am the same way too. I'm exactly the same way.
You never know.
No, they're always like, do you coach men? You're hot. And you're like, okay, my clients don't call me hot. So
yeah. Yes. This is not a good coach-client relationship already.
Nope, absolutely. So what is it that you're craving right now? Anything? You're close. What are you going to do after your show? Are you going to go somewhere?
Yes, my routine after every show is burger, fries, ice cream every single time.
What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Ooh. Ben and Jerry's chocolate caramel truffle cheesecake, I think.
Ooh.
It has all my favorites in one. That or half baked.
What's in half baked? Oh, the brownie and the cookie dough.
Yes, it's like chocolate, vanilla, brownie, cookie dough, and I think there might be one other thing. I haven't had it in so long, so I don't know. My favorite. Ben and Jerry's, like, I am healthy, you know, I eat very good food, but I can eat, and I can eat the quote unquote bad foods like nobody's business. So
yeah, no.
And there's nothing wrong with that, you know, as long as it's in moderation.
Absolutely. I always laugh because the people who are like, oh, this dessert is too rich. And I was like, what does that mean?
I'm like, put my chocolate on chocolate. Yes, Zach and I are like, we call each other when we're together, we're like the chubby kids. We're just like, we can eat. We look healthy and fit, but like, we can put it down.
Yeah.
Bodybuilders have an appetite for sure.
They do. I feel like a lot of bodybuilders are actually like, they call themselves fat kids or chubby kids because that's yeah, for sure. But you know what, you have to be able to eat to put on muscle. That's why a lot of people don't put on muscle, is because they don't eat enough. So
for sure.
Yeah. What is your what's a gym pet peeve?
Ooh, if someone tries to talk to me while I'm on the Stairmaster.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God, nothing will make me whip around faster and try to punch you. I don't mind people coming up and talking to me while I'm lifting. Like that really doesn't bother me. A lot of people in my area know who I am, or they follow me on YouTube or Instagram. So I'll have a lot of people come up to me while I'm lifting, and it doesn't bother me because I really love meeting people that follow me or follow my journey. But if you try to talk to me on the Stairmaster, it is already hard enough.
Oh, yeah.
I am going to have some words with you.
That's so funny. Where are you located? Are you in Texas?
Yes, I'm in Austin.
Okay. All right. First. Where are you in the birth order with your siblings?
Middle child. That's why I'm the quirkiest one. My parents, like, I'm the one child that just went completely off the traditional path of what was expected and did everything completely different than what they thought. You know, first one to get a tattoo, first one to not go to college, go to a trade school, you know, be a bodybuilder, be a YouTuber, you know, be an influencer, everything completely different. So I'm the troubled child, but they support me so much.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think having that family support, I've heard that a lot with different people's stories, and it's really, I mean, people do it on their own, but I think it's a game changer if you've got your family support.
Oh, for sure. It's huge. My parents they were not supportive at first because, you know, it's a difficult thing, but now they're number one fans and they love the sport.
Are they coming to your show?
Yeah, they went to my last one. They flew all the way to Charleston to see me, and they're coming to Arizona also. They had so much fun. They loved it.
What about your siblings? Have they seen you compete?
My little sister came to my last show, who's also my assistant. She came, and they're not going to be able to come to the next one. I think my brother has seen me compete once, but he works a lot, and I wish he could see me more because he was a huge inspiration to me, even getting into lifting and wrestling, you know, so I credit a lot of, you know, who I am because of him forcing me out of my comfort zone at a young age.
That's really awesome.
Mhm.
Very cool. Let's see, hike a mountain or swim in an oasis?
Oh, swim in an oasis. Too much cardio for hiking. I already do enough as it is. I'll just do it when I'll float. It'll be easier.
Let's see, dogs or cats?
So I used to hate dogs. We're not a dog. We grew up with cats. I just thought that dogs were smelly and annoying and bothersome, and cats were cool because they like did their own thing. But after getting with my boyfriend and meeting his dog, I fell in love with him so much.
Yeah.
And he's hypoallergenic. I ended up getting my own dog, and his name is Vision, and he's a micro labradoodle. And I'm now a dog person, apparently. I love him.
See, any age you can change.
You can always change for the better. Yes, and they've taught me a lot about being patient and being patient.
It is nice to have it. Did you have him during the pandemic?
So I actually got him at the beginning of my prep. So we've had him for a couple of months now. He's not even one. I think he's about 6 months. So being in prep and having a 3-week-old puppy I was like, why did I do this? But he honestly has made it so much better because he keeps me on a routine and he's there for me when I need him. And he is like, if I were a dog, he's like a crackhead. He's hilarious. He's just like, no! The other one's like, dude, chill. It's so fun. I'm like, of course I would treat this. And he's so violent. And I'm very like rough around the edges, like with people. And of course I'd make him be very similar to me.
That's awesome. It is really nice when you're like stressed out to have a pet because it does calm you down when you're like touching them, you know?
Yes. And they feel energy. So whenever you're down, they know it and they come and sit right next to you. They don't really need to do much. They're just there and they know that they need to fuel you with some loving energy.
Yeah. Yes, we don't deserve pets.
I know. They're too nice. They're just like, hi. Oh. You're mad? I'm happy. Gotta love them.
Yeah, for sure. What's your favorite body part to train?
Quads.
What does a quad workout look like right now for you, or in your routine? What does your quad workout look like?
So typically I will start with something to just get them activated. So it'll be like very lightweight leg extensions. And then I'll go into a compound movement, which is usually a pendulum squat or a just conventional squat. And then I'll do some maybe like dumbbell Bulgarian split squats just to kind of isolate each individual one. I love doing leg extensions because there's so much that you can do with just that one machine. I usually kind of like pyramid up with everything.
Yeah.
So it's usually about 15, 12, 10, 8, and usually 8 is my heaviest. And then sometimes I'm like the drop set queen because I train until failure all the time. For me, it's like, how much pain can I put my body through? Which sometimes is not very good because I walk around like I have a wedgie all the time because my legs hurt. But I like being in pain. I like suffering and I love challenging my muscles. So usually it's something like that. And then maybe like a finisher of single leg extensions where I'm just focusing on the teardrop. Because if you turn your foot out a little bit, you can focus a little bit more on your teardrop. And I need to grow that. So I'll do stuff like that.
Nice. Now everyone knows the secret.
Yes. Drop set queen.
You need it on a t-shirt.
Right.
Next to you, whatever. So let's see, last thing. Let's see. Who would you like to see interviewed on the podcast?
Ooh, that's a good one. Okay. Let me think. Dang, I can't think of anybody. Do you do mainly competitors?
Yeah, I mean, unless somebody has a great story. Female.
Is it only female?
Well, for now. Why? Who do you
No,
got?
I like that. No, I like that. Honestly, she's not as into fitness as much, but my coach, Liv Thompson, who's been helping me a lot, she is an incredible female. Like, she is a badass.
Yeah.
Like, she has so knowledgeable, and I think she can help so many females with their mindset and just loving their bodies more. And she's incredible. So I would say her.
Liv Thompson, loving
Yes.
the body, learning to love
Yes.
the body.
Yes.
Yeah. I had a woman on months ago who talked about the science of body image, and that was pretty interesting. So
That's awesome.
yeah, so I think that's a good nominee.
Love it.
Right. So where can people find you? Let's get all the info out here.
So I'm basically everywhere as Julia Rene, Juliarene. Only one E, not two.
It's __ first for your Instagram, right?
For Instagram, it's _ Julia Rene. And then for like YouTube and Twitter and all that jazz and TikTok, it's just Julia Rene.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You do online coaching.
I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do online coaching for the Buff Babe Academy. So we have about 1,000 girls who are in that academy who are all there for the same reason, for building confidence. It's just females. We have a Facebook group where everyone can interact with each other and just be a part of an all girls, let's lift, let's get shit done, let's build each other up, because that's all that we need is other people to be with us on our journey.
I love that. What's the Facebook group?
It's just called the Buff Babe Academy.
Okay. I'm totally gonna find that. I have a couple of groups on Facebook that are women, and I mean, I love men, not to knock men, but social media would be nicer sometimes without the men.
I love how sweet you said that. It was so sweet. Like, if I was a dude, I wouldn't even be offended, because I love men, but like, can you not be here? I just feel like women, I'm sorry, but like, we have it so much harder. Like, we are put under a microscope like no other. You know, people target us because they know that we're more vulnerable. And the more that I learn about how social media and the media affects how we think about ourselves and how we think we should look and how people think that we should be, screw all that. Be who you want to be, no matter if it's muscular, if it's skinny, if it's bigger, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just be who you want to be without anyone telling you.
Absolutely. And honestly, the older I get, the more I think about how important it is to be a good person, because all this stuff, it fades away. It totally fades away. And all that's left is if you are a good person or a piece of crap.
That's true.
You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah. I had some guy comment on my Instagram, and he was like, he said, ugly people have it so much harder than beautiful people. And I was like, anyone can be beautiful on the inside. Like,
yes.
You know what I mean? Like, I get it, whatever, but that's totally subject to interpretation as well. You know what I mean?
It really is, because what is beautiful? Like, someone can look at me, my boyfriend thinks I'm beautiful, but someone can look at me and not think that I'm beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, I think that you're beautiful. It's just really, who is to say what is and what isn't? Who made up this metric? I want to meet that person and punch him in the face.
Well, and honestly, how many people have you ever met in your life that weren't physically attractive, but you got to know them and they were like an awesome person or smart or taught you something, and that's what makes them beautiful? Like, think about the teachers that have, molded you or made an impact in some way, you
Exactly.
didn't love them or learn from them or respect them because of what they look like. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, it's more about the imprint that they leave on you.
yeah, I think that's a good one. You have left a great imprint on me.
You have too. I am so honored to be a part of this and just to be able to share my story and to be able to connect with somebody else who just wants the same thing for females. And it's really incredible what you're doing. And I'm just very grateful to be a part of it.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate your story and I appreciate you. And I think that it's just relatability. That is how we connect, is it not? It's how we connect and learn and grow and lift people up. And yeah, that's what I want for the women in this fitness industry and just, the women who are following and watching. So
I agree.
yeah. So, all right. Well, Julia, are you training today?
Today is my off day. I just did cardio, but no training today. I'll be back to my third leg day tomorrow. Woo! Living the dream.
Well, we'll all be cheering for you
Thank you.
following this journey. And yeah, just praying for your strength afterwards to continue.
Yes. Oh yeah, we're ready. We've prepared for this.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. So all right, you guys, thanks again for watching another episode of the Women's Maximum Fitness Podcast. This is Deborah Jean, and you can find me on Instagram at buffcake22. You can follow the podcast at Women's Maximum Fitness. And to remember that healthy looks different on everybody. Have a great day.